Welcome to Your Best Just Got Better Online. This course is designed to lead you through all 10 chapters of the book Your Best Just Got Better. As you know, the book was designed in 3 parts, and each part leads to the other. So what I thought I would do in this very first episode is not only talk about chapter 1, I mean that's the whole focus of lesson 1, but also just wanted to give you a little bit of behind the scenes. And you can expect that in all of these videos. Sometimes I'll tell you stories that I just didn't have time or space to write about in the book. And I'll also give you some of the backstory behind how the book came to be and what the thinking process was that went into that. So first of all, the title. And I haven't been able to share this story with many people, but the title, Your Best Just Got Better, is actually the title of my blog going back almost 6 years. That's right, when I started a blog, it was just a typepad blog way back when, and I had a little bit of extra time at the end of days, and I would sit down and write. And I remember I eventually titled this, Your Best Just Got Better. And the idea was that I wanted to go out and find and meet and talk to and really learn from the people who were moving from where they were toward where they wanted to be and continually making their best even better. The second part about the cover there is we designed it to be a little bit different than a normal book cover. And the publisher asked, you know, Jason, should we have your picture on the cover? Should we have other people's names all around there? And what I wanted is I wanted a book that when you see this, it almost looks like a poster. You know, I could imagine blowing this up real big and actually hanging this on the wall so that when people walk by and they say or see, my best is getting better, there's almost a understood meme, an understood meaning behind that. All right, one more thing and then I'm going to dive into chapter 1. There are 3 sections to this book. So part 1, part 2, part 3, work smart, think big, make more. And when it comes to working smart, I'm always thinking about the effectiveness, efficiencies, productivity really at its core. That leads to, and by the way, if I'm not working smart, I don't get to that second part. The smarter I work, the more effectively, more efficiently, more productively, it leads me right into part 2 of the book. That's chapters 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that's all about thinking bigger. What are the things that I have to do to set myself up to think big? Who do I need to spend time around in order to think big? How do I find out what's getting in my way already that I need to be able to move away from so that I can think big? Now, obviously, 3 parts. Third part, here it comes, make more. And towards the end of this online experience in weeks 7, 8, 9, we're going to dive into this transformation from thinking big towards contribution, towards development. And I ask people all over the world, I do this in every seminar and coaching that I get to present, I ask them, I said, hey, what does making more mean to you? And they always give me an answer, right? Making more means getting home in time for dinner 1 or 2 more nights a week with the family. Making more means taking an extra 48, maybe 72 hours tacked on to their vacation. Making more may mean getting your parents living closer to you or moving your kids closer to your parents. I mean, there's so many things that when you think about it, if you want more of what, and then you fill in that blank and let yourself go. Okay, let me dive into what I thought I would do is just share a little bit of the things that jump out to me as I read through chapter 1 again. And it's only 27 pages, right? I mean, if you read a page a minute, you're only 27 minutes in, you've made it through 1 chapter. The very first part of the book, I really have been a fan of athletics. I mean, the Summer Olympics are right around the corner, and I know that one of the main sponsors of the Olympics has always been and probably will continue to be Nike. And I start the book off with that iconic, very known, leveraged quote from Nike, right? You see that Nike swoosh, and you just automatically think, just do it. And for some people, for some of the things, some of the time, that really works. You know, for me, however, when I sit down and if it's a book that I'm writing or a speech that I'm preparing or an organization that I'm supporting, if I think about just doing it, I actually start to freak myself out about all the things that I'll just have to do. And so the theme that I'm going to ask you to own for the first 3 chapters of the book, just get started. I mean, there's so many things in here that when you think about and you step back and ask yourself, what do I need to do to begin the process? So a little bit about my background. I covered that in chapter 1. I was a high school teacher. I taught U.S. history, world history. I taught Spanish 1, Spanish 2. While I was teaching, I started doing Saturday classes for my students. I took on a consulting project with a presidential library here local in Ventura County. And then I went and I worked with the David Allen Company. I was teaching the GTD seminars. I did that for 5 years. And then over time, I realized that there was this other thing that I was interested in. I was very interested in the process behind engagement and development, not motivation, because the people that I was working with and the people that I continue to work with, they're already motivated, right? You watching this, you're motivated. I mean, what am I going to do to motivate you anymore? You like your job, or you want to do better, or you want to find a new one, you like your family, you want to spend more time with them, you want to take them to new places, you're motivated. It was taking that motive for action, the interest in movement, and then serving up how people could do that. And so 3 things that we talk about when we talk about movement and setting goals and engaging in the process. And the first one is, as basic as it sounds, to clarify where you're going. To really sit down and ask yourself, what's the direction? What's over there? Not to get to and put a stake in the ground, but to move toward, to see what the next and the next and the next stakes will be. The other thing that we would take a look at is kind of identifying to yourself, what does consistency look, sound, and feel like? If I were making continued iterative progress, what would that look like? What would that sound like? What would that feel like? Here I am, by the way. I'm recording this in my office, and I went back and forth and where I should do this recording, but what I wanted to just share with you is this is where I work. This is where it happens. Behind me is my whiteboard. Actually, Jody, I was away on a trip, and I came back, and Jody had organized this whole thing, and she had someone come and install this, and I've got all these colored pens down here in the tray, and I'm telling you, when it's time for me to think, when it's time for me to develop, I turn around and I set a timer and I go for 15 or 30 minutes and I fill this thing up. And then where you are, or where the camera is, I actually have a tripod there with a camera on it all the time. And sometimes what I'll get up and I'll just either take a photograph of that behind me, or I will record myself talking about what I wrote up here. And that leads me into the third thing, right? So 3 things: set a goal, be consistent, and the third one is take action. Take action. If you got my newsletter last week, I talked about the significance of procrastination and nouns. That is, if you make a to-do list that has all nouns, if you make a to-do list that's all subjects, if you look at your email inbox and it's all names and subject lines, the tendency to have to think real high level, to plan way out into the future, to do what I call noun thinking, that wears on my mind. So what I want to do is, I want to match, I want to meet between those two, noun, verb, noun, verb, noun, verb. And I talk about that there in chapter 1. Going in a little bit further, there's one of my favorite scripts for success right there on page 13. Who do you know who? Who do you know who should get their own copy of Your Best Just Got Better? Who do you know who should enroll in this class because they're going to get some ideas and they're going to be led through this thing? Who do you know who? Whatever it is that you're working on, you walk out into your own community. And by the way, this is how I most use Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, even my email newsletter. Embedded in all of those posts, status updates, and queries, I'm always setting the stage for where I'm going, what I'm looking for, what I could use to get from here to there. I talk often about the 4th question in networking. You know, if you go to a networking event or if you meet people around you, if you sit down and you get into a conversation with them, you're always going to hear those first 3 questions, right? What's your name? Where are you from? What do you very good do? Those are the first 3 questions. And by the way, if you look at name tags in those conferences, they try to handle those things, right? My name is, I work at, I live in. It's the 4th question that we're always trying to get to. And I talk a little bit about that in the book. By the way, my favorite 4th question lately has been something like, what are you interested in these days? I talk about working with nouns and working with verbs and the kinds of ways that I'll talk to different people, and I'll look at how they perform, I'll look at how they engage, I'll listen to the kinds of questions that they ask. If you've been in one of my seminars, you've heard me talk about when I receive a phone call from somebody, I'm listening carefully to find out, are they a noun or are they a verb? And I'll just give you a couple quick examples. But if I answer the phone and someone says, "Hi Jason, I read an article about your company. I'm wondering if you could tell me about your coaching program." Well, they want to know about the coaching program. They want to know the noun. They want to know the objective. They want to know the overall scheme. I could get another phone call that same day, hours later, and I could get a call from someone else who says, "Hey Jason, I read an article about your company in a magazine. What do you do during your coaching program?" And I'll address those two questions very differently, because the what do you do during your coaching program, that's really focused on action, on task, on schedule, on what's the A, then the B, then the C, then the D. So if I can listen to people and start to get a sense of how would they prefer to receive information, then I can set them up for success. I talk about the 4 limited resources, and I'm going to go into this in more detail later on in the book, but just to kind of plant the seed with you, there are 4 limited resources we're all managing: time, energy, focus, and our ecosystem. In the book I talk about systems and tools because it was so darned easy, it was so grounded. But if you think about it, right here in this space, time, energy, focus, and my ecosystem. And by the way, it works backwards. That is, if I want to start to manage my time more effectively, I need to take a look at those top 3 resources. And me, I'm always going to go to the top. How am I using my systems and my tools? How am I using the area that I work in so that I can enhance my focus, I can leverage my attention? And I know me, if my attention is peaked, well, then what I can do is I can push more of my energy toward what it is that I'm doing and where it is that I'm going. And then I have time. So we'll talk about time management. And then the final part of chapter 1 is to take a look at this activity I call At My Best When. And please, before you go on with your day, jump over to that website, womackcompany.com/AMBW. And At My Best When, this is an activity that I kind of pieced together, I pulled together after working with some coaches in triathlon, after working with some mentors in my writing and my business career, and just being a student of life. And what I found is that if I'll go down, write down on a piece of paper or a whiteboard, and come up with the things that if I did, I could perform at a higher level. So for me, I know if I have breakfast in the morning, if I capture my agreements as I make them, if I express gratitude, these are the kinds of things that when I do and do consistently, I get to work at a higher level. What about you? When are you at your best? All right, everybody, thank you so much. I know I talked quite quickly, but if you want, you can back up and listen to some of this again. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, anything that I can help you out with, please give me a call, send me a text, send me an email. I'm here in Ojai this week, but you know me, wherever I am in the world, if you email, I get to respond. Take care. Please dive back in, take a look at the discussions, read the blog posts. I'll have that PDF for you to download. That'll be at the top of the community site. And again, if there's anything I can do further, please just let me know.